I'm Kelda Yoon. Police in York Region are releasing video of a dramatic takedown of a group of suspects wanted for an attempted carjacking. Now, the three suspects, all teenagers, were arrested, but police believe there may be more linked to a criminal network responsible for a series of violent carjackings in the GTA. Tyler Cheese reports.
Shocking video footage shows the moment York Regional Police boxed in a white Acura known to be involved in a series of carjacking incidents. Officers quickly chase the suspects down, one of whom tosses his gun away into the crowd.
In the video, you see one suspect discarding a firearm, which lands in close proximity to one of the officers giving chase.
Police say the same Acura was also involved in this attempted carjacking in Thornhill on April 6th. And that's not all.
We were made aware that that same suspect vehicle, being the Acura SUV, was involved in an armed carjacking in the city of Toronto on April the 7th.
The takedown happened last Saturday after police located the Acura, itself a stolen vehicle from the Peel region. An 18-year-old, a 16-year-old, and a 15-year-old have all been charged with numerous firearm and property offenses. The incident comes at a time when violent crimes have been on the rise in the GTA.
Violent crime has increased in general. So access to illegal firearms, the culture of violence changing itself, and then you relate that to car theft, carjacking, home invasions related to car theft, and you see what we're seeing now.
This advocate says police can only react to crime as it's happening, and more preventative measures need to be taken to address systemic issues that worsen the problem. Things like poverty, classism, and racism.
When people feel like they're lacking an opportunity, then there's a lack of hope. If we're not showing them the way, if we're not showing them how to attain wealth, how to attain security, they're going to try to find it any way they can, by any means necessary.
As for the specific incidents at hand, investigators say they believe other people may be involved in a possible criminal network conducting these carjackings. They're asking anyone with more information to come forward. Tyler Cheese, CBC News, Toronto.
Peel police are making some upgrades at their 911 call center. A new system will now allow them to weed out pocket dials, resulting in faster response times for actual emergencies. Ali Chiasson takes a look.
911, do you need police, fire, ambulance? Stand in the line for the police.
These 911 call takers are the first responders to the first responders. The dispatch center for Peel region is like a hive of emergency management.
On this floor, 2,200 calls a day, and they can vacillate between somebody who's reporting a 3-day-old fraud right to a crime in progress or life-threatening situations.
The police chief has invited us here today to see their new technology in action. The call center has been upgraded with a new system that weeds out unwanted pocket dials and bogus 911 calls that bog down the lines, affecting response times.
1 year ago, the average wait time here in Peel was 87 seconds. The technology plus the education piece has reduced us now, 1 year later, to 11 seconds. It is tremendous.
So it does some of the work for you in terms of taking those butt dials, as you call them, out of the queue.
Yes. So we have, it's an AI system. And so what will happen is if somebody calls into 911 and the call is dropped before it comes into our system, then AI calls them back and there's a recording message that basically says you've called into 911. If you need the police, press 1. If they do need the police, then it comes back into our queue for us to speak with them, which means that I don't have to take my time calling all these people back.
Because you never know, right? If you just see the call on the screen, you don't know which one is a tragic house fire or a pocket dial.
Yeah, or a nasty car accident or something happened with a child, things like that.
What kind of a difference has this made?
It's huge. It is night and day.
For the call takers who already have the stressful job of fielding 911 calls and the people making them. Ali Chiasson, CBC News, Brampton.
It's Friday night, and for a group of teenagers from across the city, it's time to hit the basketball court. This season's Midnight Basketball League kicked off tonight at U of T's Goldring Centre. Now, the program aiming to create a positive space for boys living in Toronto community housing to develop skills both on and off the court. Vanessa Balantic checks it out.
Dozens of boys gathered tonight at the Goldring Performance Centre at the University of Toronto to launch this year's Midnight Basketball League.
it's just a great opportunity for us.
I've been doing it for like 4 or 5 years, and every year I'm excited to do this.
The league first launched in 2013. It's a partnership between Toronto Community Housing, the Toronto Raptors, and the Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment Foundation. Each week, the program transports boys aged 14 to 18 from across the city to UFT. Before stepping on the court, they grab dinner and catch up.
Not everybody has access to play in a basketball league or really get to have the opportunity to play in a professional setting. They're getting to have access to mentorship and really get to dream, right?
Kwame Ocheri used to live in Toronto Community Housing and was a part of the league. He now works as the program's coordinator.
It impacted me a lot. Coming here in 2013 as a participant, I didn't know the possibilities I had as a young man coming into this program. 11 years later, I'm now running the show. I know the intention of Midnight Basketball is to provide that space for youth around those times where violence is prevalent in communities. So I'm happy to be here, and I don't know what I would do without Midnight Basketball.
Scarborough resident and former NBA star Jamal McGlure was on hand tonight to give tips to the young players.
How I grew up, the lack of resources, the lack of basketball courts. I remember playing outside, often in the cold, often in the snow and sleet. More importantly, I want to be a mentor to them. I wish I had a mentor that played in the NBA when I was coming up.
The program reached more than 200 youths last season. This cohort is excited about what's to come.
Because there's a lot of youth on the streets that give up on education and just do a lot of bad stuff. So I think this is a nice way to get kids off the streets and just participate in fun events like this.
Honestly, it's really an honor. And I'm happy I'm here with all my friends, really. It's just something that I get to experience, it's new.
This year, the program is expecting just as many participants, with the girls' program set to launch this summer. Vanessa Balantek, CBC News, Toronto.
In less than 24 hours, the Leafs will be hitting the ice in Boston to face off against the Bruins in the first round of the NHL playoffs. Fans here will be able to cheer on the Buds at a tailgate party in Maple Leaf Square. And as Greg Ross reports, many are holding on to hope the team can make it past their bitter rivals this year.
For our city here in Toronto, this is the best time of year.
Former Leafs captain Wendell Clark, who is now an ambassador for the team, has high hopes that this year will be different.
I think our team is closer to being a great playoff team right now. We just have to prove it. I think we just got to stay patient. If we stay patient and play well and don't give up mistakes, we'll be a team that will do well.
He says the team's loyal fans deserve a long playoff run.
They keep showing up. Hey, I've been here since the 80s, and they're the greatest fans there is. They love the game. They know the game.
The team practiced in Boston this afternoon in preparation for tomorrow night's Game 1. Head coach Sheldon Keefe says his Leafs are ready.
You want to just drop the puck and get going. That's it's the most exciting time of the year.
This is the fourth time since 2013 that these two teams will square off in the opening round of the playoffs. The Bruins won the previous 3, all in 7 games. Max Domi is among the players added this year to help erase the past.
I'm just worried about tomorrow, and nothing else matters. Nothing else in the past matters. Where our 2 feet are right now, and that's Game 1 in Boston.
The Leafs haven't announced who will start in goal for Game 1, although it's expected to be Ilya Samsonov, despite some late-season struggles. Samsonov allowed 11 goals in his last 2 starts. He says he's focused on what lies ahead.
I feel good. Everybody's so excited. This is mostly interesting time in the year. We're just ready.
Certainly a lot of pressure on these Leaf players' shoulders as they try to exercise some playoff demons and get past the Boston Bruins for the first time in a long time. Greg Ross, CBC News.
Welcome back. A Toronto-based nonprofit says one of its water aid trucks was bombed in northern Gaza this week, and it's calling on the Canadian government to investigate.
We would question, right, why a water tank that provides clean drinking water was bombed. It makes absolutely no sense, right? And this is the challenge that we've been dealing with as aid workers. It's the basics of humanitarian principles are not being upheld, and it's a real issue.
Luckily, no one was hurt in the bombing, but Ali says thousands of people will now be without clean drinking water. He says the charity has notified Global Affairs Canada about the bombing, but has not received a response. It comes just over 2 weeks since Israel admitted that one of its airstrikes had mistakenly struck a World Central Kitchen convoy, killing 7 aid workers. City Council has passed new short-term rental rules. The regulations aimed at cracking down on people exploiting loopholes on popular platforms like Airbnb. Municipal Affairs reporter Sean Jeffords has the details.
Increasing rental costs and decreasing availability are constants in Toronto's housing market these days. And City Council is fighting back against people abusing its short-term rental rules and making rentals that much harder to find.
In this round, we've increased the amount of enforcement resources because we found a lot of people were gaming the system. So we're trying to stop some of those games. Legitimate operators don't have anything to worry about, but if you've been trying to game the system, we're going to get you.
In 2021, Toronto began to regulate short-term rentals which operate through online platforms like Airbnb. But since then, critics have said the city hasn't done enough to combat people breaking the rules, renting out properties that aren't their primary residences. The new rules raise registration fees, increase vetting, and allow for snap inspections. The city will also hire nearly 24 more inspectors. Perks says the measures should also help address the rise of so-called ghost hotels. Those are buildings with a large number of short-term rentals that aren't regulated as hotels.
This will give us a lot more tools to trap the people who don't live in the units and are putting them out as if they were hotel rooms.
Mayor Olivia Chow stressed that the measures will help address the housing crisis. But the new policy will also allow legitimate users to rent out their homes while cracking down on speculators.
Yesterday's motion actually achieved a fine balance. We're going to have more inspectors, and we're closing loopholes.
For its part, Airbnb says it too is happy with the changes.
The rules, and people need to follow the rules. And Toronto has a restriction to primary residences only. We support we work with the city to ensure that hosts understand those responsibilities.
This advocate for the group Airbnb says the rules will crack down on a number of scams.
So you would see people, for example, list their principal residence or list one residence and send guests to a wholly different place. You would see illegal listings being taken down, and then somebody else reopening that listing under another account the very next day, to the never-ending frustration of neighbors.
Airbnb supports the new changes. Before the city started regulating short-term rentals, thousands of units were off the market. Toronto's rules have made an impact, she says.
That's a massive impact. We've seen about 5,000 at least of those homes come back. Like, there's documented evidence that they're coming back into the long-term rental market.
Sean Jeffords, CBC News, Toronto.
Torontonians will soon be able to drink alcohol in at least one park in every ward of the city after council voted to make a pilot project from last year permanent.
I'm very much in the camp that most Torontonians are able to enjoy responsibly a beer or a glass of wine within the parks as they have for many years. And bad actors will be bad actors. This program is not a key contributor to that type of bad behavior that we have seen over the years.
19 councillors agreeing with Brad Bradford, with 4 voting against. The program will now expand from 27 to 44 parks across Toronto. 5 councillors motioned to have their wards exempt, but were all narrowly voted down. The pilot program began last August, and according to city staff, over 90% of park visitors that were surveyed said they were satisfied with their park experience. Tomorrow is the 17th annual Record Store Day, a global celebration of the culture of independent record stores. Shops will be carrying special releases, including one by the Tragically Hip. Tali Ricci has more on the ways vinyl continues to rise in popularity.
People just really excited that they found this little gem in North York.
1, 2, 3,
I started Full Records about 2 years ago, online record store. And it started when I was trying to find city pop albums here, but I couldn't really find any. So I had to do a lot of research overseas in Japan or Hong Kong. And I'm thinking maybe spend so much time doing this research, maybe I can get 1 or 2 more to share with people who love this kind of music.
When you started your shop because you weren't able to find this genre of music yourself, what was the response like?
A record store mainly features city pop, Cantonese pop, soundtracks, soundtrack for movies or games or anime. Someone gave me a comment saying, oh, even though it's a small collection, but they can see it's really carefully curated. And they hope that we can expand our collection. So I see a lot of encouragement, and I hope that this is something that we can continue to share a love of music with.
How are you participating in Record Store Day? I guess this would be your first one.
Yes, so I remember lining up in downtown record store maybe 4 or 5 a.m. just to get that one record I really love. So this is my first year, and I'm really excited to take part in this. There's a lot of rare records this year, and I try to import a range of different genres like jazz and pop and soundtracks, hip hop, so everything that you can find, you will be able to find in Flow Records.
The Little Jerry is what I call a hi-fi tavern. It's a casual neighborhood bar and restaurant with a really good sound system in it, and we listen to and play only vinyl, and the room is sound treated to make the vinyl sound the best that it can.
How did you know that featuring only vinyl would be so well received?
I did not. So we opened July 2019. I think vinyl was really, had been making a comeback for quite a while. When we opened, we were the first of this style of place that I'm aware of in Toronto. The sound system, it's all analog, it's tubes, it's really made for vinyl specifically.
And why do you think bars like this and an interest in vinyl in general is skyrocketing so much right now?
I think there's a little bit of a backlash towards Spotify culture and music being so fleeting and so sort of disposable, and records kind of go against that entire idea. It's something physical you can hold in your hands. It's something you have to intentionally put on to play. You have to flip it over to listen to it, and it just sounds really good. The local shops are the heart and soul of the whole digging culture, record culture. They are frequently run by people who everything really comes from the heart. They sell even tickets to live events and things like that. They really are cultural centers in Toronto.
Record Store Day for vinyl lovers it's better than Christmas. The interest in records and vinyl in general has exploded over the last few years. We see that with the foot traffic that comes into the stores. We see that with the artists that are participating by pressing vinyl. We see that in the growth of pressing plants all across the world. They'll be supporting local artists, the art scene. If you want to find your friends, you'll probably make some at the record store.
So whenever someone come in and found a record they've been looking for, and just their eyes is just brighten, it just makes my day. I just love to share the music. It's not really about making money, but just sharing the music that we love together.
Exciting times at the Toronto Zoo. One of its snow leopards is expecting. 3-year-old Jita is pregnant for the first time after being matched with a mate in the zoo's snow leopard preservation program. Her mate, 9-year-old Pemba, has fathered prior litters, but none of his cubs survived due to medical complications. Now, the zoo says ultrasounds have been a challenge due to Jita's fur being so thick and fluffy that the pictures aren't clear. So it's not known exactly how many cubs will be born. The baby snow leopards are expected to arrive sometime in May. And you are looking at a live shot of Toronto. Mainly clear skies tonight. Currently, it is sitting at 8 degrees. Colette Kennedy joins us now with a look at your weekend forecast. And Colette, it's been kind of hard to dress for the weather lately, a bit all over the place.
Yeah, Kelda, I mean, it is still April, so some ups and downs with the temperatures. That's not unusual at all. And we do have some cooler nights as we look ahead towards not just this weekend, but into next week as well. So I thought we'd take a look at the average. And for the purposes of this last freeze frost, I'm using them the same, although there's a slight difference. It just makes it easier. Let's overlay these on. Here's your timeline up here of when you would typically have let's go in for a closer look too. That average last freeze or frost. And for Toronto, you know, I've got it into late April. It tends to be about mid-April, typically around the 11th to the 13th, depending which data we're looking at, going back 30 years or going back beyond that. Now, keep in mind, if you're talking about at Pearson, that it might push a little bit later, the further you are away from the water. And that's the case in all of these situations. Windsor, it's around April 17th, so I've got you here in early April, and you can kind of extrapolate from there in terms of we might be just a little bit later. Although we've had this mild winter, we might be finding our frost a little bit later this particular year, but probably only by a week or so, and not out of the question. Daytime highs for today, things got much better once the rain showers pushed through and the sun was coming out, so that helped to pull that temperature up. We're kind of in between things right now, but we don't really get to enjoy the clear skies too much because we'll have at least some cloud coming back in, kind of variable skies for tomorrow. There'll certainly be pockets with more sun in the morning, and then we get into this kind of situation and you can see just a few light spotty showers possible too. I don't think it's going to hamper your plans too much. It'll be a little bit breezy, the winds out of the west, and the daytime highs are going to be a little below seasonal. We get into better sunshine chances as we go into Sunday, and just a little bit of fair weather cloud coming through. Your overnight readings then for tonight: 3 for Toronto and Oshawa, 2 Barrie, Peterborough, getting very close to freezing. You'll stay a little bit milder as we go back into southwestern Ontario. But I do want to jump ahead and show you what's going on with the 5-day forecast and some of these overnight lows. So yeah, a daytime high at this time of year is about 12, so seasonal for Sunday, but Saturday night into Sunday, Toronto, we're down to freezing. Sunday night into Monday, we're going to dip a little bit below and still have high pressure into Monday and nice skies. And then a chance of showers comes back into Tuesday and Wednesday. And although the temperatures go up, another cool night into mid next week. We could even lean towards a hard freeze. So we're not out of the woods yet.
All right. Thanks so much, Colette. And that's our show for you tonight. Thank you so much for watching. Shannon Martin has your next local newscast tomorrow at 6. Have a great weekend, everyone.